When my parents announced that my sister's family was moving in, I refused. They screamed, "You are part of this family, start acting like it." Then demanded I pay their bills and babysit their kids. When I said no, my mom snapped, "After everything we've done for you." And my dad yelled, "Fine. Be selfish." I moved out, cut off all financial support, then they called me. Because I never thought my family would treat me like an ATM, but I guess I should have seen it coming. It started small, just a few groceries here and there, a little help with the bills. Then, before I knew it, I was expected to fund my sister's entire family while they sat around doing nothing. And when I finally put my foot down, they acted like I was the villain. I'm 32 male, single, and I have a good job. I worked hard, saved up, and bought my own house a few years ago. My sister, Sophia, is 34 and married to Mike, who's 35. They have 3 kids, 6, 4, and a newborn. Neither of them has held a steady job in years. They jump from gig to gig, always making excuses, always living beyond their means. My parents are in their early 60s, retired, and living on my dad's pension. Growing up, Sophia was the golden child. She could do no wrong in my parents' eyes. If she messed up, it was never her fault. If she needed something, they would bend over backward to give it to her. Meanwhile, I was the independent one, the one who didn't need help. They were proud of me, sure, but it was the kind of pride that came with expectations. I was supposed to be responsible. I was supposed to take care of myself. That's why when Sophia and Mike got evicted, my parents didn't think twice about letting them move in. I was a little shocked, but I figured it made sense. They had 3 kids. They had nowhere else to go. What else were my parents supposed to do? I assumed it would be temporary. Just a few weeks until they figured something out. That was my first mistake. A week after they moved in, my mom called me. "Honey, can you pick up some groceries for us? With the kids here, we're going through food so fast." I didn't think much of it. I grabbed a few bags of groceries and dropped them off. It was about 100. No big deal. A few days later, she called again. "We're running low again. Could you help out?" I hesitated this time, but I didn't want my nieces and nephew to go hungry. I sent another $150 for groceries. A week later, another call. Then another. It didn't take long for me to realize what was happening. I had unknowingly become their main source of food. The first time I visited after they moved in, I walked into chaos. The house was a mess. Toys everywhere, dishes piled up in the sink, my dad sitting in his chair looking exhausted. My mom was in the kitchen, cooking for 6 people. Meanwhile, Mike was on the couch playing video games, and Sophia was scrolling through her phone. I asked Mike if he'd looked for a job. He scoffed. "It's not that easy, man. No one's hiring." I knew that was a lie. Everywhere was hiring. But before I could say anything, Sophia chimed in. "It's just really hard with a baby right now. We're just trying to survive." I bit my tongue and left. The next week, my mom called again, but this time, it wasn't about groceries. "Honey, could you help with the electric bill? It's a little higher with the extra people in the house." I hesitated. "Mom, I can't keep paying their bills." She sighed. "But we're family. Family helps each other." That was the beginning of the guilt trips. For the next few weeks, every time I said no, I got the same response. "Your nieces and nephew don't deserve to suffer. You make more money than you need, why can't you share?" Sophia would do the same for you if the roles were reversed. That last one made me laugh. Sophia wouldn't lift a finger for me if I was drowning. Then came the babysitting. At first, it was, "Can you watch the kids for an hour?" Then, "Can you take them for the evening?" Then, "Can you keep them overnight?" Every time, I said no. Every time, they got more frustrated. One night, I got a call from Sophia. She was crying. "Mike and I just need a break. Just one night, please." I had plans, so I said no. She snapped. "You're so selfish. We do everything for you, and you can't even help for one night?" That's when I lost it. "What exactly have you ever done for me?" Silence. Then she hung up. The next morning, my mom called. "Honey, why are you being so difficult?" "They just needed one night of help. I'm not their babysitter, Mom. I'm not their bank either. They need to get jobs." She sighed. "You don't understand. They're struggling." "No, Mom. They're freeloading." That's when I decided I was done. I found a new job in another state and started planning my move. When I told my parents, they flipped out. "How could you abandon your family? Sophia and Mike need you. You're ungrateful after everything we've done for you." I packed my things and left anyway. The day I moved, my mom called me one last time. "You'll regret this." For weeks, I ignored them. No calls, no texts, nothing. Then, out of nowhere, my dad called. His voice was different. "Son, please. We need help." I asked what was going on. Turns out, Sophia and Mike had drained my parents' savings. My parents had been covering their bills, their food, even their personal expenses, until the money ran out. Then, the utilities got shut off. Then, the credit cards got maxed out. And now, my parents were drowning in debt. Meanwhile, Sophia and Mike? They were still living there, still unemployed, still acting like nothing was wrong. Now my parents were begging me to fix everything. I sat there, listening to my dad plead. Then I took a deep breath and said I took a deep breath and let my dad talk. His voice was shaky. He wasn't just asking for help, he was begging. They won't leave, son. Your mom and I are drowning here. We thought they'd get back on their feet, but they're not even trying. We're out of money. They're eating through whatever's left, and they don't care. I leaned back in my chair, rubbing my face. This was exactly what I warned them about. They let Sophia and Mike move in, gave them everything, and now they were suffering for it. I stayed quiet for a moment, then asked, have you told them to leave? My dad sighed. We've tried. Your mother told Sophia we couldn't afford to keep supporting them, but she just cried and made us feel guilty. Then Mike started yelling, saying it's our responsibility as parents to help. Your mom caved. I got angry, told them they needed to figure something out, but Mike just laughed. I could already hear it in my head, Mike, sitting there like a lazy piece of trash, smirking while my parents struggled. My dad continued, his voice quieter. We asked them again last week. They refused. Mike said, legally, you can't kick us out unless you evict us. Then he told me if I did try to evict them, they'd fight it. Your sister backed him up. I clenched my jaw. So, what do you want me to do? Dad hesitated. Then, almost in a whisper, he said, I need your help getting them out. This was the moment. The moment they finally needed me, but not for money, not for groceries, for revenge. I exhaled slowly. Dad, you know this is your own fault, right? I know, he admitted. I was stupid. I thought they'd grow up. I thought they'd at least try. But now they're treating us like dirt in our own house. They don't respect us. They don't even care. He sounded exhausted. Then, my mom grabbed the phone. Honey, please, she said, her voice thick with emotion. They're bleeding us dry. They don't even ask before they take money now. If I leave my wallet out, Sophia takes my credit card like it's hers. I tried to confront her about it, and she screamed at me. My own daughter screamed at me. I could tell she was crying. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. She told me if I tried to cut her off, she'd call CPS and tell them we're abusing the kids. I froze. What? She said she'd tell them we're not feeding them. That we're neglecting them. We do everything for those kids, and she's using them as weapons. I gripped the phone so hard my fingers ached. Mike and Sophia weren't just freeloaders. They were parasites. That's when I made my decision. All right, I said. I'll handle it. Mom sniffled. You'll help? I said I'll handle it. Because at that moment, I wasn't thinking about helping. I was thinking about payback. I knew one thing for sure, this wasn't going to be simple. If Sophia and Mike were willing to manipulate my parents and threaten them, they wouldn't just leave because I told them to. They had to be forced out, and it had to be in a way they couldn't fight. So I started digging. First, I checked the local laws. My parents were right. Sophia and Mike had been living there long enough that they had tenant rights. Kicking them out wouldn't be as simple as telling them to leave. An eviction could take months, and even then, there was no guarantee they'd actually go without a fight. I needed something faster. Then I remembered something. Mike had mentioned, more than once, that he did some side gigs. Mostly under-the-table work, no taxes, all cash. He even bragged about how he hadn't filed taxes in years. So I made a call. It took me 2 days to find someone willing to talk. A guy Mike used to work with. When I asked about Mike's side gigs, the guy laughed. Oh, yeah, man. He was doing some shady stuff. Fraud, mostly. Fake invoices, skimming money. Heard he even messed with some PPP loans back when that was a thing. I felt my lips curl into a slow, satisfied grin. Because that was gold. Now I had leverage. I went to my parents' house unannounced. Walked right in like I owned the place. Sophia was sitting on the couch, the baby in one arm, phone in the other. Mike was in the kitchen, eating something out of a pot. Neither of them even looked up. I stood there for a second, letting the disgust settle in. Then I spoke. You two need to leave. Mike snorted. Not this again. Sophia rolled her eyes. Mom and Dad already tried this. We're staying. I stepped forward, lowering my voice. No, you're not. Mike smirked. Yeah? And what are you going to do about it? I smiled. Well, for starters, I had a little chat with someone you used to work with. You know, the guy who told me all about your little PPP loan fraud? His face changed in an instant. Sophia frowned. What are you talking about? I pulled out my phone. I made some calls. Turns out, the IRS is very interested in people who steal money from the government. Did you know there's a tip line for reporting fraud? Pays really well, too. Mike's mouth opened, then closed. His face turned pale. I wasn't done. And oh, Sophia? You might want to be careful about throwing around CPS threats. I pulled out a printed copy of a text message. One I got from my mom. The text. The one where Sophia threatened to lie about child neglect. Her eyes widened. This, I said, waving it slightly, is evidence. And if CPS actually gets involved, guess what happens? They investigate everyone, including you. Silence. For the first time, Sophia looked scared. Mike swallowed. You're bluffing. I grinned. You really want to find out? I let that hang in the air. Let them sit with it. Then, I leaned in, lowering my voice just for them. You have one chance. Pack your stuff, get out, and don't ever come back. If you don't, I will make those calls. Mike stood there, his hands twitching. He was angry, but he wasn't stupid. He knew I wasn't bluffing. Sophia started crying, but I wasn't falling for it. I stepped back and looked at them one last time. You have 3 days. And then I walked out. 3 days. That's all they had. And if they didn't take it? I was more than ready to burn everything down. 3 days. That's all I gave them. I fully expected them to pack up and leave, but deep down, I knew Sophia and Mike weren't the type to go down without a fight. They had been freeloading for so long, manipulating people, twisting the situation to their advantage. There was no way they'd just walk out. And I was right. 2 days after I gave them the ultimatum, my mom called. Her voice was shaky. Honey, they're not leaving. I exhaled sharply. What do you mean? Did they even start packing? No, she whispered. They're acting like you never said anything. I clenched my jaw. Of course. They were calling my bluff. Mike must have convinced Sophia that I wouldn't actually report him, that I was just trying to scare them. He probably thought I was too soft, too nice to actually go through with it. Big mistake. I hung up and drove straight to my parents' house. I wasn't wasting any more time. When I got there, the tension was thick. My dad looked exhausted, my mom was pacing the kitchen, and Sophia and Mike? They were sitting in the living room, calm as ever, as if they owned the place. Sophia glanced at me, then rolled her eyes. Oh, look who's here again. Mike stretched lazily. What, you come to beg us to leave? I didn't even hesitate. No. I came to let you know I already made the calls. Sophia's face dropped. Mike sat up a little straighter. I pulled out my phone and started listing off what I had done. 1. Fraud report to the IRS. I sent in everything I had on Mike. His fake invoices, the PPP fraud, the shady side gigs he bragged about, fraudulent charges, unauthorized use of funds. I had the bank statements and text messages to back it up. By the time I finished, Sophia was shaking. You wouldn't, she stammered. I just stared at her. Mike's face was red with rage. You piece of I cut him off. Oh, and one more thing, I said, my voice sharp. You remember your old landlord? The one who evicted you? Mike's jaw tensed. I smiled coldly. Yeah. I gave him a call too. Turns out, he never got around to reporting the damage you did to the place. I made sure he knew how easy it'd be to file a claim now. So you might want to prepare for another lawsuit. Sophia started sobbing. Mike stood up fast, hands clenched into fists. For a second, I thought he was going to swing at me. But he didn't. Because he knew. He knew he was cornered. Then, my dad, who had been silent this whole time, finally spoke. His voice was calm but firm. You're done here, he said, looking straight at Mike. Pack your things. If you're not gone by tomorrow, I'll call the police myself. Mike turned to Sophia. Get the kids. We're leaving. I felt the weight lift off my shoulders as I watched them scramble. And just like that, my family's parasites were finally gone. But the story wasn't over yet. The next morning, my mom called again. They came back last night. I stopped mid-sip of my coffee. What? They took stuff. The TV, my jewelry, even some of your dad's tools. I closed my eyes, taking a slow, deep breath. I had won the battle. Now it was time to end the war. I sat there, gripping my phone so hard my fingers hurt. They robbed you? I asked, my voice calm in a way that scared even me. They waited until we were asleep, my mom whispered. Your dad got up to use the bathroom in the middle of the night and saw the front door slightly open. He checked the living room, and that's when he noticed TV was gone, tools were gone, my jewelry box was missing. Her voice cracked. They took everything they could carry. I stood up so fast my chair nearly tipped over. Did you call the cops? She hesitated. Your dad didn't want to. He's scared of what Sophia will do. She's still his daughter. I clenched my jaw. I knew my dad still had a soft spot for her, but this wasn't about family anymore. This was about crime. So I made the call myself. The police came within an hour. I met them at my parents' house and laid everything out, how my sister and Mike had been freeloading, how they refused to leave, how they stole from their own family on their way out. I handed over security footage from the doorbell camera, which showed Mike sneaking in through the side door around 2 a.m., carrying out a box of stolen goods. That was enough for the cops. They filed a breaking and entering charge on top of theft. But I wasn't done yet. I gave them another little tip, Mike's fraud. The IRS investigation was already in motion, but the local police were very interested in the fact that he had been bragging about stealing government money. They took notes, asked questions, and then one of the officers smirked. You said he likes to sit on the couch playing video games all day? Yeah, I said slowly. The officer chuckled. Well, let's see how long he sits once we knock on his door. They went straight to Sophia and Mike's new place, a dingy, run-down rental they had barely managed to get. And that's where the real fun began. Mike was arrested first. Not just for the break-in at my parents' house, but because the police also found evidence of fraudulent financial activity in his home. Turns out, he was still running scams, and he was dumb enough to keep records. Sophia wasn't arrested immediately, but CPS got involved fast. The moment they found out she had threatened to file false neglect claims against my parents, they dug deeper. And guess what? They found out she and Mike had been misusing the government aid they received for their kids, spending it on themselves while the kids went without proper care. The moment CPS stepped in, everything collapsed. She lost custody of the kids. My nieces and nephew were placed into temporary foster care while the state investigated. And since my parents were now seen as victims rather than enablers, CPS eventually allowed them to take the kids in. Sophia, meanwhile, was hit with child endangerment charges on top of everything else. Mike? He got prison time for fraud, theft, and breaking and entering. His history of scamming people caught up with him, and the IRS slammed him hard. Sophia? She didn't go to prison, but she lost everything. Her kids, her freedom, her reputation. She was placed on supervised probation, forced into mandatory parenting classes, and stripped of any government assistance. And my parents? They finally woke up. After everything, my dad sat me down and apologized, not just for this mess, but for all the years they treated me like I didn't need help. He admitted they had enabled Sophia, that they had been blind to who she really was. It wasn't easy, and things weren't perfect overnight, but we finally healed. As for me? I thrived. I never let my family use me again. I built a life without being their safety net, without being their ATM, and without guilt. Sophia and Mike thought they could manipulate, steal, and get away with it. Instead, they lost everything. Justice was served. And I never looked back. That was 3 years ago. A lot has changed since then. Mike is still in prison, serving a 5-year sentence for fraud, theft, and violation of probation. He writes to Sophia sometimes, but she rarely responds. The last I heard, he's trying to get his sentence reduced for good behavior, but no one's buying it. Sophia completed her probation last year. She's working at a fast food restaurant now, her first real job in nearly a decade. The manager there runs a program for people trying to get back on their feet. It's minimum wage, long hours, and she hates it, but it's something. She's living in a small apartment on the other side of town, barely making ends meet. Every month, she has to submit financial reports to the court to prove she's supporting herself legitimately. My parents still have custody of the kids. It's been tough on them. 3 young children at their age isn't easy, but they've risen to the challenge. Dad took a part-time job to help with expenses, and Mom joined a support group for grandparents raising grandchildren. They're doing better financially now, slowly digging themselves out of the debt Sophia and Mike left them with. As for me, I moved back to town about a year ago. Not because they needed me, but because I wanted to be there. I bought a house not far from my parents, close enough to help with the kids but far enough to maintain my independence. I see my nieces and nephew 3 times a week. They call me Uncle Jay now and run to the door when I arrive. The oldest, Emma, is 9 now. She remembers her parents, but the memories are fading. The middle one, Lucas, barely remembers them at all. And the youngest, Lily, doesn't know them. She was just a baby when everything happened. Sophia gets supervised visits once a month. The kids are always quiet afterward, especially Emma. She asked me once why her mom wasn't around more. I didn't have the heart to tell her the whole truth. Instead, I just said, "Your mom is still figuring some things out." Emma just nodded, like she already understood more than a 9-year-old should. My relationship with my parents has changed too. There's a new respect between us, a balanced understanding that wasn't there before. Dad called me last week, not for help, but to ask if I wanted to go fishing. We spent the whole day on the lake, talking about everything and nothing. It was the kind of father-son relationship I'd always wanted but never had. Last month, Sophia called me. It was the first time we'd spoken directly since everything went down. Her voice was different, humbler, more hesitant. "I know I don't deserve to ask for anything," she said, "but I want to see the kids more. I'm trying to change, I really am." I didn't answer right away. The old me would have shut her down immediately, told her she'd lost her chance. But the new me, the me who's seen what real change looks like, paused. "It's not up to me," I finally said. "That's between you, the courts, and Mom and Dad. But if you're serious, I won't stand in your way." There was a long silence, then a quiet, "Thank you." I don't know if she really has changed or if she ever will. People like Sophia and Mike, they have a way of twisting things, manipulating situations to their advantage. But for the kids' sake, I hope she's genuine. As for me, I'm dating now. Her name is Claire, and she's a pediatric nurse I met when I took Lily to the hospital for an ear infection. She's smart, kind, and has a no-nonsense attitude that reminds me of myself. We've been seeing each other for 6 months, and last week, she met my family for the first time. Watching her play board games with the kids, laughing with my mom in the kitchen, it felt like something clicked into place. "Your family is lovely," she told me later that night. "You're lucky." I smiled, Thinking about everything we've been through. We are now, I said. But it wasn't always that way. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if I hadn't put my foot down, if I'd kept enabling Sophia and Mike like my parents did. We'd all be miserable, broke, and trapped in their toxic web. Instead, we've built something new, something healthier. The kids are thriving in school. My parents are enjoying their retirement again. And I'm finally living the life I want, not the one others expected me to have. Last week, I got a letter from Mike. It was short, just 2 lines. I know what you did. I'll never forgive you. I read it once, then tore it up and threw it away. His forgiveness means nothing to me. What matters is that my family is safe, and we're healing, day by day. I don't regret what I did. Not for a second. Some people might say I was harsh, that family should always come first. But they don't understand, sometimes the healthiest thing you can do for your family is to break the cycle of abuse, even if it means cutting people out. Sophia and Mike thought they could use family as a weapon, as a tool to get what they wanted. They never understood that real family isn't about obligation or guilt or money. It's about mutual respect, about building each other up instead of tearing each other down. As I sit on my back porch, watching the sunset with Claire beside me and knowing my parents and the kids are just a short drive away, safe and happy, I realize something important. Sometimes you have to lose the family you were born into to find the family you deserve. And that's a trade I'd make again in a heartbeat. Yesterday was Emma's 10th birthday. We threw her a party in the backyard, nothing extravagant, just family, a few friends from school, cake, and games. My parents helped with the decorations, and Claire made these amazing cupcakes that looked like unicorns. Emma couldn't stop smiling. Sophia was invited too. It was my mom's idea, and despite my initial hesitation, I agreed. She showed up 30 minutes late, clutching a small wrapped gift and looking nervous. The kids ran to greet her, even little Lily who barely knows her. That moment, seeing them hug her, seeing the genuine surprise and happiness on Sophia's face, it made me wonder if people really can change. She stayed in the background for most of the party, helping my mom serve food, cleaning up wrapping paper. She didn't try to make it about her or cause drama. When it was time for her to leave, she hugged each kid and thanked me quietly. "This meant a lot," she said. I just nodded. After everyone left, I sat with my dad on the patio while he smoked his pipe, a habit he'd picked up since everything went down. "She's trying," he said, not looking at me directly. "I know," I replied. "But trying doesn't erase what happened." He nodded slowly. "No, it doesn't. But it's a start." We sat in silence for a while, watching the sunset. Finally, he turned to me. "You know, when you were kids, I always thought Sophia was the fragile one. The one who needed protecting. And you. You were so independent, so capable. I never worried about you." He tapped his pipe against the railing. "I was wrong. We did you both a disservice." I raised an eyebrow. "How's that?" "We didn't teach Sophia responsibility because we thought she couldn't handle it. And we didn't give you support because we thought you didn't need it." He shook his head. "Parents can be blind sometimes." That conversation stayed with me. My dad, for all his flaws, was finally seeing things clearly. The golden child/scapegoat dynamic that had defined our family for decades was finally being acknowledged. 2 days after the party, I got a call from Sophia's boss at the fast food restaurant. She'd given me as an emergency contact. Turned out, she'd collapsed during her shift. Exhaustion and dehydration, the doctor said later. She'd been working double shifts for weeks, trying to save enough money for a better apartment, one where she might eventually be able to have the kids for overnight visits. I sat beside her hospital bed while she slept, studying her face. She looked older now, lines around her eyes and mouth that weren't there before. The entitled princess was gone, replaced by a woman who'd lost everything and was clawing her way back from rock bottom. When she woke up and saw me there, she started crying. Not the manipulative tears I'd grown so used to over the years, but quiet, ashamed ones. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't want to bother you." "You're not a bother," I found myself saying. "You're my sister." It was the first time in years I'd acknowledged our relationship without bitterness. Something had shifted between us. Not forgiveness, exactly, I wasn't there yet. But understanding, maybe. Recognition that we were both products of the same dysfunctional family system, just on opposite ends of the spectrum. The following week, I helped her move into a small but clean one-bedroom apartment closer to her work. Claire came too, bringing homemade curtains and some plants to brighten the place up. We didn't talk much as we unpacked boxes and assembled a second-hand dining table, but the silence wasn't hostile. It was contemplative. That night, as Claire and I drove home, she asked me a question that caught me off guard. "Do you think you'll ever forgive her completely?" I thought about it for a long time before answering. I don't know. Part of me wants to. But another part remembers how she and Mike treated my parents, how they stole from them, how they threatened to use their own children as pawns. I gripped the steering wheel tighter. Some things leave marks that don't fade. Claire reached over and squeezed my hand. Forgiveness isn't about erasing what happened. It's about not letting it control your future. Her words made sense, but they also opened up a vulnerability I wasn't quite ready to face. If I forgave Sophia completely, would I be setting myself up to be taken advantage of again? Or would I be freeing myself from the anger that still sometimes kept me awake at night? Last month, Mike sent another letter. This one was different, rambling, full of excuses and self-pity. He blamed everyone but himself for where he ended up. Sophia told me she'd stopped reading his letters entirely. They're always the same, she said. He hasn't learned anything. I believe her. The difference between them is stark now. Mike is stuck in the past, nursing grievances and plotting revenge. Sophia is looking forward, accepting consequences, trying to rebuild. It's not a perfect redemption story, she still has moments of entitlement, still makes excuses sometimes, but she's trying in a way Mike never has. CPS has started allowing her unsupervised visits with the kids, short ones at first, just a few hours. The caseworker says she's been consistently meeting all requirements, attending parenting classes, maintaining employment, staying clean. My parents are cautiously optimistic. As for me, I've been promoted at work. I'm now heading a new department, with a team of 12 under me. The extra money is nice, but what I value more is the stability, the sense that I'm building something sustainable. Claire has moved in with me, bringing her cat and her collection of vintage medical textbooks. We're talking about the future, marriage, maybe kids of our own someday. It's a future I couldn't have imagined 3 years ago, when I was drowning in family drama and resentment. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't stood up to Sophia and Mike when I did. Would they have continued their parasitic existence indefinitely? Would my parents have lost everything? Would the kids have grown up thinking that manipulating people and avoiding responsibility was normal? I can't know for sure. But I do know that sometimes, the kindest thing you can do for someone is to set boundaries. To say no when they're asking for something that hurts them in the long run. To refuse to enable destructive behaviors, even when they dress it up as family obligation. The road hasn't been easy. There were nights I questioned myself, wondered if I'd been too harsh, too unforgiving. But seeing where we all are now, my parents enjoying their retirement and their grandkids, the children thriving in a stable environment, Sophia slowly rebuilding her life, and me finally free from the chains of guilt and obligation, I know I made the right choice. Family is complicated. It's messy and imperfect. But real family lifts you up, it doesn't drag you down. Real family respects boundaries. Real family wants what's best for each other, not just what's convenient or profitable. I don't know what the future holds for any of us. Sophia might relapse into old patterns. The kids might struggle with the trauma of their early years. My parents might never fully escape the guilt of their enabling behavior. And I might always carry a small scar from the years of being treated like nothing more than a resource to exploit. But for now, we're all healing. We're all growing. And we're doing it together, but separately, each of us responsible for our own path, our own choices. And in the end, that's all any of us can really ask for, the chance to write our own stories, free from the toxic patterns of the past.